Hi everyone, my name is Itai and I'm one of your TAs this semester for CS61B. And in this series of videos, we will learn about a tool you will use all the time in 61B and most likely forever if you plan on working as a software engineer or a data scientist, which is Git. So Git is a distributed version control system. We will first understand what version control means, and in a later video, we will talk about the distributed nature of Git. You've probably seen version control before if you ever used Google Docs. So I set up here a silly Google Doc, and if I go to File and Version History, I can basically see that Google has a system to keep track of the different versions that this document has gone through. So in the beginning of time, there was nothing, and then I added, some text and more text and more text. So this is what we mean by saying version control. Note that this is a form of version control on one file only, one document. When we work on a programming project, managing versions is more complicated because a code base usually involves a collection of files, just like our own game 2048, Project Zero. When we develop a large project like this that has many different files that interact with each other, keeping track of their versions is a more difficult task. And the question is, how do we do that effectively? So Google Docs basically had like a version of the file in different points in time. So maybe every day after I'm done working on 2048, I can, do something like this, 2048, and today is January 27th, 2021, and it is 6 p.m. now. And maybe when I continue working in 2 hours, I can copy and paste this folder and then change this to be, this is the 8 p.m. version of Project Zero. And tomorrow I will paste this again, and maybe I'm gonna feel like working at 2 p.m. on the 28th. And then, each time I would go in, edit the files I need, go back, create another copy. So this would be a form of version control, but there's got to be something better. And you can imagine that this can become very, very messy if we're working with even bigger projects. And this is where version control systems come into play. What Git is going to allow us to do is take some folder, a directory, our SP21 folder. Mine is number 12. Let me know in the comments what's yours. Just kidding. I don't think you can comment on this video, but I don't know. I wanted to feel like a YouTuber. Yeah, so some folder on our computer that has a collection of files and maybe even other folders inside. And it's going to maintain the history of this SP21 folder by taking snapshots of how it looks like at different points in time. It will also allow us to move back and forth between these snapshots. So maybe I want to go back to how my SP21 folder looked like yesterday. I didn't download Lab 2 yet, and maybe I just want to go back and see something that I did in Project Zero that I lost track of. Then maybe once I'm done, I can revert my SP21 folder to its current state. Git will also let you share these snapshots with other people, like the TAs, so we can grade your work. And it has many, many more features, really too many to mention right now. The bad news is that Git has, in my opinion, a pretty bad interface. So what I mean by that is the way we interact with Git is not super intuitive or user-friendly. For example, in Lab 1, we told you to use all kinds of commands like git add, git commit, git push, git pull. Sometimes they worked, sometimes they didn't. And just from seeing these commands or reading the brief explanation of what they do, chances are you don't feel like you have deep mastery of the system. But while the way we interact with Git may feel complicated and not user-friendly, the underlying ideas that operated are actually quite simple and very elegant. And once you understand them, you will be able to understand pretty much everything that there is to know about Git. And in this series of videos, we will try to gain a mental model of what happens under the hood when we use Git. Let's see how it works. Okay, so I'm going to get out of my SP21 folder and go to my home directory. And I'm going to hit Command plus on my keyboard just to make this business bigger for you. All right, so the legacy 61B Git guide, which is also linked on the course website, it uses some kind of recipe writing example to illustrate what Git can do. So let's do the same. I'm going to make a new folder in my home directory. Let's call it recipes, and I don't really know how to cook anything, but I will pretend for the purposes of this demo that I want to start writing recipes on my computer in this folder and keeping track of their evolution as time goes by. So I'm going to cd into this folder. I don't want to type the whole thing, so I'm just going to use tab to complete. If I ls, which means list all the files inside the current directory, you see there's nothing here. And always hit as many returns as you can. That's how you become a pro. Okay, well, I just said that I want to be able to track the versions of the files that will go in this folder. So I'm going to use the git init command. And you can see the computer told me that an empty Git repository was initialized. The git init command basically tells my computer, in this folder I'm currently at, if I hit pwd, you can see where I am. I want to be able to do version control on all the stuff that is going to exist inside this folder. Currently nothing exists here, but we will create some files shortly. Okay, let's start writing recipes. Okay, so like I said, I'm not a connoisseur when it comes to making food. So maybe let's make a recipe for a PBJ sandwich. So I'm gonna make a new file using the command touch. Let's call it pbj.txt. And if I hit ls, I can see it over here. So I'm going to use the subl command to edit this file using Sublime. Okay, so maybe we want to create some kind of a template for the recipes I will make in this folder. So maybe name, prep time, ingredients, and instructions. Oops. Okay, so I'm gonna save it. So I closed the file, and let's see what's going on in our Git repo over here. By the way, once we use the git init command in some folder, we usually refer to that folder as a repository or a Git repository. So I'm gonna use a command that you should use all the time, anytime you interact with a Git repo, which is git status. So this is asking Git, what is the status of this repository? So there's a bunch of output we got, but most importantly, let's look at the bit over here. So Git is telling us that currently in this folder, there is a file that is untracked, that there is no version of that file that was ever recorded by Git. Well, in order to record it, we need to take one of these snapshots we talked about, and in Git, we call these snapshots commits. Oops, commits. And you can see that Git status is telling us that we haven't made any commits yet in this repo. So let's make one. The first step in creating a commit is using the git add command. And we call git add on the name of the file whose changes we want to include in the commit that we are going to make. So in this case, the file is pbj pbj.text, enter, so we added it. Let's see what git status is telling us now. So now Git is telling us, hey, I'm now aware of some changes that you want to commit, you want to take a snapshot of. And specifically, the changes is that we created some new file, pbj.text. Okay, so we added, there's nothing else to add. This is the only file we have now. So we're ready to make a commit. We're going to use the git commit command, -m. And in quotes, some kind of a message that describes what this snapshot is recording. So I'm going to say, started working on my PBJ recipe. Okay, nice. Let's hit a few returns and let's see what git status is telling us now. So we got what we call a clean status. So Git is telling us that there is nothing to commit. The state of this folder, recipes, is clean. It means that there are no changes made to files inside recipes that Git is unaware of or did not take a snapshot of. All right, another command we're going to use all the time is git log. So git log shows us all the snapshots that we ever took. Every snapshot or commit is denoted by a unique ID. We will learn more about how these IDs are generated later in CS61B. And every commit also has, some pieces of what we call metadata that accompany it. So who made this commit, who made this snapshot of the recipes repo, when it was made, and also the message that describes this commit. Okay, perfect. We made our first commit. That's exciting. All right, let's say I want to keep making more recipes. So if I use the cat command on the pbj file, I can see its contents, and really there's nothing here right now. It's just sort of a template for making recipes. So if I want to make a new recipe, I can just use the cp command to copy this file, and I want to copy it into the current directory, so that is dot, and the copy should have a new name. So what other recipe should we make? Maybe like eggs. Okay, if we list the files now, we can see that this new file was created, and if I cat this file, you will see that it has the same stuff as pbj did. Let's see what git status is telling us now. So again, the status is no longer clean because Git is now telling us, hey, you told me you want to track versions of stuff in this repo, and there is a new file made now that I am unaware of. This file was never added using git add, and it's not included in any commit I have. We're not ready to make a commit yet, so maybe we can just add it and see what happens. Just so we don't get red errors. Okay, that looks better. Let's just avoid redness. So I'm gonna edit the eggs file using Sublime. So this is a recipe for making eggs. Let's say, I don't know, it takes about like 7 minutes to make eggs. I guess depends on how well done you want to make them. You really need eggs, maybe some kind of oil, maybe you want to add some salt, and the instructions would be break eggs. Oh, I guess you need to put oil in a pan and break the eggs and wait. Okay, hey, this is a video about version control. We're going to improve this file in a future version. All right, I'm interested to see what git status is going to tell us now. So you see that basically git status turned the status of the eggs file to red because the version of eggs when we created it is no longer the same as the current version. So what Git is basically saying is that, hey, there are some changes that are not committed or are not added to be committed. So let's say we're ready to make another commit. So we're going to add eggs.txt, and there's no reason to add pbj.txt because we didn't touch this file. So I'm going to make a commit, and let's say created and wrote a first version for eggs recipe. Let's see Git status now. It is clean, this is great, and if we hit git log, we can see that our second commit was now created. Okay, let's make one more commit. So I'm going to edit the PBJ file, and I'm actually going to use a text editor that lives inside a terminal called Nano. It's similar to Vim if you're familiar with Vim. So let's nano PBJ. This is a PBJ sandwich recipe. The prep time is really, just like 5 minutes. You need bread, peanut butter, jelly, spread PB and J on the bread. There you go. So to exit Nano, I hit Control X and then Y, yes, I want to save this. And this is the name of the file, enter. Okay, again, let's see Git status. And I really encourage you to pause the video now and think, what would Git status tell us about the state of the recipes repo right now? Okay, so if you said that it's going to complain about PBJ being modified, you were correct. So we want to make a new commit. We're going to add PBJ. Again, there's no need to add eggs because we didn't edit it. But I'm going to let you know a trick. There is actually no harm in adding the other file too, and we will see why shortly, but we could say add pbj and eggs.txt. We could also say add star, which means just add everything in the current directory. So I'm going to do that, and when we hit git status, you will see that Git is only reporting that PBJ is green now. It's been added to be committed, and eggs was actually just ignored. So Git is pretty smart. It is able to tell, well, the user asked me to add the eggs file, but no changes to the file has been made since the last commit, so I'm just going to ignore it. Okay, so let's commit, and maybe this happened to you if you forgot to type in -m and just hit enter. Something scary like this opened up. This is Vim, so it's another version of an in-terminal text editor, just like Nano, just like I showed you moments ago. And basically what Git is thinking here is that, okay, the user didn't use commit -m and then some message in quotes. So maybe they want to tell me a longer story about what this commit is. So it presents us with this text editor that allows us to write, as many details as we want. So if this happens to exit, you just hit on your keyboard colon. So you can see the colon over here, and then Q. And you can see that Git told me I cannot make a commit because you didn't provide a message. So let's provide a message now. What did we do? We added information to pbj.txt. Okay, good enough. Let's see git log, and there you go. We have a new commit. Now you'll notice now that we have too many commits to display in this terminal window. So if I use the down arrow on my keyboard, I can see more information. And if I want to exit this commits log business, I can just hit Q on my keyboard and get back to the good old terminal. All right, now is the moment of truth. Now we will see how powerful Git can really be. I have two recipes here, and let's say I want to make another one. And I really want to use the same template that the other files have. So, this name, prep time, ingredients, instructions. I can no longer use the cp command with, some new recipe name, because now the PBJ file and also the other file, they contain more information other than just the text. So I'll have to, edit it and delete, and I don't really want to do this. I just want to get the clean template. What I really want to do is go back in time when the PBJ file only contained the template and maybe copy it over to the current state of my recipes repo. So to do that, I'm going to look at, first of all, I'm going to check that I have a clean status, perfect. And then I'm going to go to git log to see all my commits. And I'm going to browse for the commit that contains the version I want to copy over. So, well, it's not this commit because this is when I actually added information, but I could use this one. I could really use, if I go down, this one as well. So I'm going to copy this commit ID using command C. You can also copy, hit Q to get out of git log. And then I'm going to use a new command called git checkout, and then paste the commit ID and hit enter. Okay, so there are some warnings here. Git is telling me that I'm in a detached head state. We will learn more about what that means later on, but the interesting part is if I ls now, you can see that my folder went back in time. The eggs file doesn't exist here, right? Because that was the first snapshot we took of this repo. And if I cat, let's just open this file with Sublime. I can see that it was reverted back to its original version. So I can copy this because this is what I wanted to do. And now I want to get back to the now state, to the current state of my repo, or the most recent commit. And to do that, I'm going to write git checkout master. If I ls, you can see that now the repo is reverted back to its most recent state. Now I can make a new file, I don't know, grilled cheese, paste over here, and yeah, let's just leave it. All right, whoa, that was quite a journey. Hopefully you gained some more confidence about what these different git commands mean. In the next video, we will uncover what happened under the hood when we performed these different actions. All right, see you then.